Okay, guys, so I just recorded a whispered ramble that I don't want to say turned out more like a rant, even though that's what I jokingly call it in the video. But I do end up talking about a couple serious social topics, starting with an attempted mugging that my partner and I just had to deal with on the 4th of July of all days. Walking back from a parade, I had to put in a police report and everything for it. So it starts with that, and then I go into some heavier topics about certain types of violence in the United States, like drug-related, firearm-related, etc. So, like, if you don't find this stuff totally relaxing as a point to ramble on, so maybe this video isn't totally for you in that case. So you might want to skip it. But if you don't really care, it's fine. I mean, I don't get heated or anything during it, but some of you are mostly looking for relaxing content surrounding rambles that you could just sort of zone out to. This isn't totally one of those. A little bit more of an engaged one. So yeah, I just figured I'd put that disclaimer here. Hello everybody. Today I'm coming on to do a little werewolf agility, which is otherwise some pretty dead content. Werewolf agility is technically some of the best XP per hour in old school RuneScape. However, if you wanted to beat out Camelot Rooftop XP, which is about 50,000 an hour with like decent attention paid, you need to be pretty dick perfect about everything. And that especially includes not fucking up these stepping stones. As you can see right there, I just pulled off a perfect cycle. And that's pretty exciting. The hurdles are a lot easier to cycle on. And so that was a good example of a pretty much perfect opener. However, you can see we fucked that up by not picking up the stick, and we messed up running out of the pipe. So it's not perfect, or I should say I'm not perfect at it. I only have 38 laps practiced, but with some medium attention, I am pulling, into the 60Ks, maybe around 65, so I'm only about 20% above Canter and Rooftop. However, 20% is an extraordinary leap for agility experience. I'm sure we can all agree with that, especially if you hate training agility. However, if you hate training agility, this may not be so fun for you. In my opinion, I like agility at the werewolf course just because I think it's fun to get I think it's fun to practice it, get good at it, and maybe once you learn it, you don't have to touch it again. But it'll be a really quick 30k plus agility XP that you'll gain just trying to learn it. So it's like, whatever, it could be fun. I don't know exactly how much I'm gonna go for here, but you can see I'm pretty much hitting that 60k mark once I turn in the stick, since that is the where your major XP comes from, is turning in the stick. Once again, we got a really perfect stepping stone there. Go through the pipe. Yeah, my main thing right now is messing up the pipe run. However, I think when the pipe goes back to being a clickable object is when you're set to run, so we'll give that a shot next time. Get our XP drop, run over here. So as you can see, this tile is the best to run to, and you may need a tile indicator to hit that perfectly every time if you're not used to it. Right right now I've been practicing with the true tile indicator. RuneLight's regular tile indicator acts as a true tile indicator for the very final tile that you walk on, because your destination will disappear once you arrive there, and you will arrive at your destination before your character model does. So that's that's how you gain info from it. But there is also a plugin for your actual true tile indicator, which is highlighted in purple there. So if you don't know much about true tiles in RuneScape, you know, your character is not always exactly where their model is. In fact, if you're running, there are oftentimes 2 tiles in front, and they will actually skip the tile in the middle, or in between rather, which will cause you to be able to dodge certain sticky situations depending on at what level you're kind of using the tile indicator to your advantage. You can see here my XP is getting pretty nice. I believe there is a strategy to use an alt to freeze the werewolf that you have to give the stick to at the end, which is where the bulk of your XP comes from. And given how perfectly you tend to run the rest of the course, that is quite a big XP gain to be able to freeze him in an optimal location. You might be able to up your XP by I don't know, an extra 10% possibly. That might be a little far-fetched. But yeah, as you can see here, we're already grabbing around, like, I want to say, you know, we'll even out at around 64 or 63k. Maybe just slightly lower, because we will fail the teeth grab pretty rarely at our agility level, but it will still happen. And, you know, we'll lose a little bit of time off of that. But as you could see, getting those stepping stones down after the hurdles is your best bet. And if you do want to do werewolf agility, and you may be a little worried that you won't be able to pull off the rates that you see in people's videos, I would encourage you to maybe turn on a tile indicator and then just give it a shot. Your other best bet, if you don't want to use a tile indicator, is to watch out for XP drops. Typically, XP drops signify your ability to do your next action. That's not the case for every single agility shortcut like the pipe, but for most standard ones, that is the case. So yeah, I mean, in my opinion, this is about as fun as agility can get, and a part of me is very frustrated. I know I've kind of talked about this before. Yeah, there we go, so that's a failure there. And I know I've kind of talked about this before, but it's very frustrating to me as an Iron Woman that we are heavily disincentivized from doing any traditional agility training, because the only way to get stamps is rooftop agility via Marks of Grace, and I think that's a little ridiculous for Iron Men. The original agility courses are pretty entertaining, including werewolf agility. And just a lot of the traditional agility, especially the original traditional agilities, just have such cool themes. And they have great visuals. And then for rooftop agility, you're literally on like player-made, like rooftop envisionings of agility. Like, I get it. It should be a more relaxing way to do agility, and it is, but therefore, it shouldn't be your only method of generating items from agility. I don't really think that makes any sense. I'm not saying that your marks of grace should only come from intense agility sources, but maybe if you're going to make it such that you have to get marks of grace from lower XP or especially lower effort, which, because it's not always lower XP, frankly, rooftop agility courses like Kandarin give you ridiculous amounts of XP for the level, considering things like Werewolf agility, which you have to run like tick perfect, etc. don't really give you that much more. I mean, I will say a 15,000 per hour step up from Kandarin is pretty good. I'm not going to complain about that. But again, this is running it like tick perfect, doing a tick perfect traditional agility course for no rewards at all except for experience seems a little absurd to me. I just feel like either the XP rates in traditional agility courses need to get buffed, or there needs to be some alternative to marks of grace there, or just straight up marks of grace, maybe at a lower rate. That would be cool. I wonder if Jagex maybe, I don't know, I was gonna say I wonder if maybe they can't code it, but I fucking doubt that. I don't know. It's just frustrating. I think it's the number one issue with the design of Iron Man, for sure. You know, crafting is pretty bad, but like, let's face it, I have 89 crafting and I have 75 agility. Sure, I have a lot of effective hours played for crafting, but like, you know, I have a lot of hours played for agility as well. And the agility levels that you need are, you know, really high. I think the minimum you need is... Really sorry about that. I'm in a Hicktown here. Crackhead Hicktown. Oh, by the way, guys, if you are listening, my partner and I were out for a 4th of July parade in our local crackhead town, and sure enough, on the way back from the parade, we ran into this very shady guy chilling in a grove on the way to our car, you know, through like a little wooded path. And this man was there when we walked to the parade, like just 20 minutes before. And he was like fake doing shit. Like every time someone would walk by, he would check his bag and light a cigarette, which is pretty conspicuous because you don't tend to chain smoke your fucking cigarettes in public like that unless you're tweaking or you're stressed the fuck out. And sure enough, on our way back, we ran into him scoping out an older couple, most likely looking to mug them. And as we walked past him and the older couple, he yet again fiddled with his bag and made it look like he was leaving. And then he followed my partner and I to my car and performed an attempted mugging. Good for us though. We had no money in our wallets, so it's a good thing we were able to outpace him and get into our locked car, because despite the fact that I don't think he had a firearm, because he was just way too close to the police department to risk setting off a fire alarm, he was also definitely just, I don't really want to be mean here, but he absolutely was attempting. By the way, my partner and I did call the police. I called the police and filed a report, so they took care of it. He didn't actually get a chance to, you know, mug us or stick us up, so he technically did not commit a crime against us, but that's still something the police could handle. You know, let me put it this way, if you were loitering in an area with a weapon looking to mug people, even though you did not commit the crime of mugging, the police do have the right to kick your ass out of that area and potentially put a charge on you if you are found with an illegal weapon. And the state where I'm in, you know, there aren't too many knives that are illegal, as this is quite a weapon-heavy state. But, on that same note, the police are going to be less forgiving of finding someone who was, you know, finding someone with a weapon who was definitely looking to mug people versus finding someone with a weapon minding their own business. You know, in like small towns and shit, police absolutely have a discretion of, you know, whether or not they want to pursue something, and oftentimes that could come out in quite an extreme way where they could just not press charges against someone who very clearly committed a crime, or, you know, maybe it's on the burden of the state to do that in some cases, etc. But yeah, police in this town are definitely very sick of the local drug population spilling out into the inhabitants. So yeah, I think if on the 4th of July the police actually did track him down and they found, let's say, a knife that locks, which is illegal, you can't have a blade with a lock on it. In most states in the United States, if not every state. You see, there was a messed up rock there for the first time in a while. See, okay, if my screen weren't so zoomed out, I might not have missed that there. But this is pretty bad. I don't want to kill my XP rates here trying to narrate. So yeah, that was my 4th of July, looking pretty sweet. It's interesting. Oh, it's not a drop, so it doesn't come up with the money. It's funny. Okay, so let's not let my XP rate here plummet. Let's do this for real now. Okay, there we go. It's also possibly a good way to learn tick timers. Who knows? I don't know. I think Bo is going for the collection log, obviously. So yeah, moral of the story though, other than not taking 30 damage, holy shit, is that if something like that does happen to you, say you're like pretty confident that, you know, this dude is either looking to scout people or they are straight up looking to mug someone right now, or maybe even mug you, and you were fortunate enough to get away, I actually am like, I'm super sketched out because I almost walked back early if my stomach was acting up, or God forbid I let my partner go alone. They might have, you know, like seriously, every single person that walked by him and that he fake adjusted around and made it look like he was walking or leaving, but in reality he was just following them to their fucking car, to the sidewalk, like a freak. Every single one of those people were in a group and he still creeped on them, which is fucking scary, right? And that old couple that we saw that he was definitely about to stick up as we walked into the grove, they looked fucking terrified as soon as we cut the corner. They were like, the old couple was fake examining like a bush, talking about, you know, it's like it's a genus. Nobody up here is inspecting fucking random weed bushes, like, not marijuana bushes, but I'm talking like weed bushes, like invasive shitty species. No, they were sitting there and they were inspecting this bush because they didn't want to walk past this dude who was clearly creeping on them and probably went into his bag every time to keep a knife in there, right? Every time he goes in there to pull a cigarette out, he's probably also got his hand on his knife. Can't keep it on your pocket, but the police can't check your bag so easily without any sort of probable cause, so... But yeah, that old couple was terrified. We probably saved them, frankly. Not saying we saved their lives or anything like that, but yeah. And again, the dude was still creeping and mad dogging these people, and he still followed us all the way to our car. And I can still, this is trippy here / scary, but I can still see the fucking dude was right. That's the second time we saw him. So the first time we saw him, we thought he was just some cool dude chilling, and he was getting ready to leave. But he wasn't, because he was still there 30 minutes later. I don't think he banked on the fact that anybody would walk in and out of that grove within such a short period, but we did. So we were able to see that every single time someone walked by, he wasn't picking up his bags to leave. He was picking up his bags to move 2 feet away to make it look like he was leaving in that moment. And that is why we immediately called the police afterwards, because there is no reason to mad dog anyone, follow them to their car, and set up like fucking shop on a sidewalk in some trees, you know what I mean? And, you know, the dude was tall and skinny, and if he was high, that makes it even worse. But I'm gonna be honest, if the dude rushed my partner and I, obviously if he has a weapon, you cannot defend yourself against someone with a weapon. I'm not saying it's impossible, I'm saying you really cannot do it for your own sake. It's not safe. I'm not talking about getting injured, fuck getting injured, I'm talking about getting killed. I know in America we're maybe a little desensitized to the concept of the knife, because it seems so ridiculous to us that someone would pull a knife on us in a country where you're very likely to get a firearm pulled on you. And in that case, I'm sorry, there's really nothing other than to comply. But even with the knife, you also have to realize that you can die from getting stabbed. I know that sounds like a stupid thing to have to point out, but it's true, and you might not think about it. Someone as small as me, it's pretty difficult to miss my vital organs. I'm a pretty small person, so like, yeah, it'd be pretty fucking terrifying for me. But if the dude were to rush us, my partner and I are both black belts in martial arts. We're both black belts from our adolescence, though, so we're not, we're not currently practicing martial artists. However, we know how to properly throw a kick, and we know how to properly throw a punch. And, you know, if someone pulls a knife on you, they're looking to potentially kill you, right? That's what the tacit threat is. It's give me your stuff or I will stab you to death, right? It's not I will stab you and hurt you. That is not really the same intensity of coercion as I will stab you and kill you. That's why muggings in the United States, with the prevalence of firearms, use firearms. It's because there is no question. You cannot intentionally just injure someone with a firearm if you are untrained. Even if you are looking to just injure them, maybe shoot them in the leg, maybe you hit the femoral artery and they bleed out on you. So, yeah, in the United States, you mug to kill, you don't mug to injure, and it's fucking scary out here. And if anyone ever tried to pull anything on my partner and I, and we actually ended up in a physical altercation, say, with that guy, like, say, for instance, he was really creeping, like, quick on us as we were walking, or really running up the hill. I turned out of the corner of my eye to see him, and I saw he was kind of far away still, so I wasn't worried unless he started running. You know, my partner and I would have probably just fucking run to the car and locked it. Because what's he gonna do? Pry it open with his fuck. What is this? Is that a joke? Are we memeing? What is that? But yeah, it's really a matter of practice, as, you know, it requires a certain form, but the whole point is once you get this form down, it starts to, I don't want to say make up for power, but complement the power of your kick. Someone like me, I'm not a strong person, but I guess my legs are pretty strong, but even neglecting that, you kind of make up for strength and form in some ways. Someone who is pretty strong, obviously, if they give, like, their barbaric improvised punch and they punch someone as hard as they can, yeah, they'll probably break bones, right? Most people that have any sort of like muscle at all, you can break bones when you punch. It's not that hard. I have no idea what the hell they're talking about. Like, I don't know if they're memeing or what. But yeah. But on the other hand, you know, someone who goes through training of like boxing, which I mean I didn't, but you know, boxing, karate, etc. You learn ways to draw power out of your muscles via punch, just in forms that you take. Same thing with kicking. And it gets pretty scary if you get pretty strong, but you have a sort of expert grasp on certain combat techniques like kicking or punching. You know, your body is already a deadly weapon, but your body becomes an extraordinarily deadly weapon. And moral of the story is, if dude tried to rush us, partner and I would have, and the cops would have applauded us, because in this town they do not, and this isn't even really a great thing, but in this town they do not investigate any sort of wrongdoing that happens to any of the I'm trying to think of a good way to put this. I don't want to just say the dregs of society, because I don't, you know, I don't want to label people who struggle as that, but people who the police view as the dregs of society. And here, if you use any drugs at all, or if you look poor, you are a dreg. And if you get murdered, they do not investigate it. And this is like an ongoing problem in our town, where in this case I actually agree with them, but there was a neo-Nazi, part of a hate group, who came to our town a couple years ago, and I won't really give much information about it because, you know, I don't want you to be able to look this up to find out, you know, what city I live near. But anyways, he came into our town and started making trouble in a parking lot, and he got into an altercation with a man because it sounded like he came to this place and just started making a bunch of racist trouble with people, as you do. And he probably pulled some shit like a knife or a bat, because he had a history of doing this. And one of the people that he got into an altercation with pulled out a gun and put it to his head, and he executed him right in the parking lot, like right down from where I live. Dude was executed, and it was broad daylight. Over 10 eyewitnesses, I read. There's a confirmed over 10 eyewitnesses. And the police interviewed none of them. They didn't even open an actual homicide file on. I mean, it exists, obviously. I'm sure it counted as an uncleared murder. I'm not saying that. They totally made the stat disappear, like, you know, the Wire style. But what I am saying is they essentially buried it as much as possible, because they clearly did not want to investigate. And that's probably because not why, because there is an answer as to why, but from more of a community point of view, not a police, but from a community, non-law point of view, why would you investigate the murder of some dude who came to your town to try to commit hate crimes and probably murder people? The dude was a known cop attacker, and his father was a known cop killer. His father was also murdered by police. So that, in fact, was probably why there was absolutely no remorse or fucks given to the dude's death. He was a neo-Nazi and absolutely had a habit of beating up and even killing LGBT people in our area. So I don't mean to be like negative on your guys' ASMR and shit, but I'm honestly kind of glad nobody investigated his murder. I'm not gonna say that I'm glad he's dead, because I'm not gonna say that publicly, but I don't care that he's dead at all. And I'm really glad that his murder wasn't investigated at all. Look, I understand we have systems for a reason, etc., and murder is really never acceptable, nor is it a way to solve problems. And in the United States, we absolutely do have a murder culture, and that is not good, as to a large extent we've become desensitized to murder and violence in general. However, there is a line where when you are a hate mongerer and your sole purpose in life is to be poor, most of these white supremacists are poor people. To be poor, to look like shit, be a skinhead and have a scraggly beard, drive a fucking pickup truck, and then your entire life is to go around to different towns and pick fights with blacks, Asians, gay people. Fuck you. Like, you actually do deserve to get not only the shit kicked out of you, you deserve to go to prison, obviously, but since the police don't really work in this area, sometimes it's up to the people to handle it. So I'm sorry if the dude takes a bat to you and you are a firearm owner. The dude has swastikas tattooed on his shitty bald head. If the dude is walking up to you with a bat and you are a minority in this state, you absolutely have the right to take out a gun and to shoot to kill. In the United States, if you're not from here, the whole purpose of owning a gun is to shoot to kill. In most states, you are not legally allowed to fire warning shots or to shoot to injure. You are not trained to shoot to injure. The only reason you should be pulling a gun in the United States in the first place is if you feel threatened as a legal gun owner. Now, I'm not like pro-gun or anything. Obviously, I'm pretty anti-firearm in the United States, as I've come from areas in New England where the gun violence is so bad that if you're not from the United States, I don't even care to hear your opinion, because frankly you have no idea what you're talking about. I'm also from Connecticut originally, where Sandy Hook happened, and I was in school when it happened. So yeah, I obviously wasn't living in Newtown, but yeah, I obviously have a little bit of inherited trauma from experiencing that when I was younger. And yeah, however, again, obviously there are uses for certain things like guns, even though I think the drawbacks fucking very heavily outweigh the uses in our country. That's one of the uses, right? It's when some Nazi comes up to you with a weapon and it looks like they're about to attack you and they're approaching you saying stuff. You take out that gun and you shoot them because you're not safe, right? You are not safe. This dude is violent. This dude is a murderer. And he's a hate monger. So yeah, I know I got off on a little tangent there, but my fuck me, man, where I'm from, that's a waste of a stem. Where I'm from really gets to me sometimes. Not where I'm from actually, but kind of where I'm at. It really can get to me sometimes. And for shit like that, I actually recorded a ramble a really long time ago where I talked about the white supremacist incident, but I had to cut it because I got a little bit too inflamed. And I got pretty inflamed with this one, but not totally. I would say if you're not, I would say if you're a little sensitive to these subjects, obviously, this video wasn't for you. And I'll probably put a disclaimer in the video, but still fine. I mean, most of the people who watch me, I'm assuming, are adults, so like, I mean, you guys know, whether you're from the United States or not, violence is everywhere, hate mongering is everywhere, mugging is everywhere, dangerous situations are everywhere, the concept of having to defend yourself is everywhere. And if you're from the United States in general, you absolutely know what I mean about our culture, definitely having some sort of element of murder culture to it, and just violence culture, and a lot of that is in the pursuit of enlightenment about this information, right? To bring attention to murder, drugs, violence, etc. However, it doesn't always work that way. One of Kendrick's line from his new album was really good. It's funny because the concept of Hollywood teaching schools is usually something used by fucking freak red pillar right wingers. Oh, Hollywood is pushing all these gay ideals onto us, shit like that. However, Kendrick has a pretty funny left-wing approach to that, where he says, Hollywood, corporate, and schools teaching philosophies, you either gonna be dead or in jail, killer psychology. And look, frankly, that is true. In areas where there's a lot of media exposure, if you've ever seen Menace to Society, for example, which is a film I've talked about, there are a lot of people who watch that film from those areas, from places like Watts and just overall lower income California or New England, who saw that film, and instead of seeing the horrors for what they were, which is something that needs to be stopped and avoided, a lot of people who the film is kind of trying to address saw it, and they saw it as like a guidebook. I know the actor, whose name I can't think of, who plays Kane, the protagonist, he actually mentioned that people would like tell him when he got older, like, yo dude, you and O-Dog, like, you were literally like my parents, like I grew up with you, shit like that. And that's fucking crazy, guys. I can't imagine how scary it is to go in to see Menace to Society and come out and be like, yo, that was a dope film, I want to go do that. No, it is a dope film, but you don't want to do that. You don't want to do anything as is portrayed in the film, right? And many shows, film, media in general, absolutely doubles as journalism to expose this stuff, but also in a negative light, maybe an encouragement to some people who are already living the lifestyle that is being exposed. And in the United States right now, that lifestyle is a lifestyle of violence, frankly, and firearms. It's a big problem here. So yeah, that was definitely a lot. Just to recap, I rambled about my mugging, or my attempted mugging, rather. The white supremacist incident in which he was executed in a parking lot down my road. And the police refusal to investigate, I guess not first-degree murder, because it probably was in some element, or not, self-defense, so definitely not first-degree murder, but, nobody really knows exactly what happened other than the eyewitnesses who were never really called on. Probably forgot about the incident, but, for all we know, the white supremacist just pissed some dude off and he pulled a gun out and, shot. And, that's understandable. It's not acceptable, though. If you pull a gun out and end some dude's life, there has to be some level of self-defense involved for it to even be close to morally justifiable, in my opinion. Now, to beat a mob, absolutely. I think that's morally just peachy, honestly. If a hate-monger comes to your town, obviously don't engage with them, but if they're getting the shit kicked out of them by some Samaritan, cheer that fucking Samaritan on. Because, I'm sorry, but that is what these people do. It's very well documented. Look up states in the New England area, specifically states that are not totally blue, so there's some political contention in there. Go in there and look on the state government websites, there should be pages dedicated to known white supremacist and hate groups. Right there, given to you by the government. And I guarantee you, you will find dozens of hate groups and hundreds, if not thousands of members, known members, logged in those databases. And these people are all, every single one of them, are criminal reoffenders in the justice system. They're constantly in and out of prison, many times for drugs, because even though they're white, pure Christians that apparently also endorse the murdering of blacks and gays and etc., they also sell drugs to make money, right? And sell illegal firearms to make money. How fucking white value Christian is that? Goddamn brain deads. Right, so it's just crazy. And I encourage you, if you're in an area and you maybe feel uncomfortable about some of this stuff, to go look into actual resources provided by your state and local government, because trust me, your state and local government, unless you're living in, you know, fucking bumfuck like red west states, midwest states, etc., the state has an obligation, and they will catalog known offenders and especially known groups for you to keep tabs on. And that stuff is important because, like I said, outside of doing things like hate mongering and committing actual crimes that way, they are also almost always serial offenders in and out of prison. So they are no good for the community anyways. They are the lowest of low lives. They literally crusade while committing all these crimes. Like, oh my god. Like, yeah, I'm not even gonna go on about that hypocrisy. I'm just gonna leave that there. This is honestly more of a rant than a ramble at this point. Moral of the story is, don't stick up any black belts. Don't even attempt to stick up any black belts. Don't monger hate. Don't pick on LGBT people. Don't fuck with black people just because they're black. Don't do that. Okay, that's racist, guys. And those people have a right to defend themselves if you ever do anything weird, like say a fighting word, etc. That's fair grounds to defend yourself, because there is a well-documented history in our nation of fighting words turning into violence and fighting. Right? There's a reason why fighting words allow for you to fight. It's because historically these words cause fighting. In fact, there was an incident at my university where my partner and I were, I think I might have told this story, but we had quite an issue where we had to get the university police involved with not just some dude, actually with our roommate who was homophobic, and his friend who was really homophobic and an asshole. And one day this friend got on the phone, didn't realize he was on speaker, started calling us faggots, and I lost my cool and I did something. And when my partner and I left and went to go talk to the university, not only were the police totally empathetic, they told me, listen, don't even worry about it. I told them what I did, which I don't want to say what I did, but I spit on him, okay? I fucking spit right on him, and he's lucky I didn't hit him, frankly. I'm lucky I didn't hit him, okay? But spitting on somebody in the United States, in many states, is an assault. You cannot spit on people. I am not proud that I spit on the dude. Frankly, I don't care though, because he deserved to get spit right in his eye, right? But yeah, you can't do that. It's not appropriate. It's not even legal. So don't ever spit on anybody, guys. Solve your problems the right way. You know what? I'm fucking lucky that I went to a really nice university in Connecticut where I grew up, a nice liberal state. It was very empathetic to LGBT people in general. And so we did not have any issues, but you know, there are many places you could go in the United States where if you spit on some straight dude and you're a gay guy, and the reason for you spitting on them is that they were being homophobic, look, in some states you will get charged for that assault for spitting, and nothing will happen about the gay shit. You go to court, you tell them, they say, tough luck, kid. So, you know, it's risky, it's not appropriate, don't do it, but I did it, on impulse. Obviously, I was like fucking raging, fuming mad, because my partner and I were undergoing homophobic harassment from this guy for months, and it just, you know, I can't believe we never ended it sooner. But, you know, when you're going for, you know, my partner and I were going for 3 degrees between the two of us, we're fucking busy, we're burned out, like it's the middle of college, I'm taking some of my most rigorous electrodynamics courses at the time, I'm coming home to my dorm room, I'm putting on my headphones, smoking weed, and doing my problem sets for like 14 hours a day. Like, you know, the process of trying to switch dorms, contact university, security, etc., it's not crossing my mind until something explodes. But that's the problem, right? That's why they're fighting words, because they lead to those explosions. And in some cases, the person who attacks you isn't even, or not attacks you, but the person who actually ends up physically attacking the other is not always at fault when these fighting words are involved, because they are fighting words. They are words that are used to solicit and bait fighting and hate, because back in the day, it's all you needed to do. You just needed to bait some queer into fighting you, and then boom, what's the police gonna do? They're a fairy, right? So fuck them, throw them in prison, and let them rot with the other macho dudes. This is such a social anti-ASMR rant, but I'm gonna upload this anyways because I think it's funny. I'm not funny, but you know what I mean. And I'm not fuming while I'm talking about this other, unlike the one ramble I did where I was farming shamans and didn't upload it. God, that was a long time ago. Shamans, jeez. Look, the moral of the story is to stay safe and always keep an eye out, right? You see shady characters like with the mugging, don't walk by him again, right? You see him once, don't go back the way you came. My partner and I made a mistake, right? We should have known that when the dude readjusted the first time, when we walked past him the very first time, that he was up to something, because he did look shady to us then, but we just didn't think anything of it because we were kind of near such a crowded area. But, you know, we took a stupid risk when we saw him again and decided to just walk past him. Why did we do that? Why didn't we just turn around and go the long way around in the open? You know, God forbid we were alone, like it was just me or it was just him, or if God forbid that older couple wasn't there, and so we didn't have like a brief time to have 4 people in one area around him, where you're not gonna mug 4 people, right? 4 adults as one guy. You know, having those 4 people kind of allowed us to gain distance on him at first. Maybe we wouldn't have been so lucky, but it would have been something that would have been pretty easily solvable by not walking through like this forested, you know, grove on the way to our car. It was stupid. And we have been told repeatedly that our town and our city is like infamous where we live, and that it's just a bunch of crackheads. You need to lock your door, etc. And while a lot of that is exaggerated, you know, I come from Connecticut, which people think is like this really peachy, rich white state. That's not true. Connecticut has some pretty fierce fucking areas. I'm from the New Haven area. New Haven used to be a murder capital of the country, so I don't really want to hear that. It's one of the mugging capitals in the country still, and while its murder rate is definitely down, Connecticut is the most segregated state in the entire United States. You know, it's crazy. New Haven is a big city. Hartford is a big city. Waterbury, Bridgeport are horrible places for segregation and crime. Like, no. Okay, where we are now, it doesn't even compare. But to the people who live up here in the more quiet life outside of, you know, the metropolis of the New York area, you know, this is sort of their Bridgeport or Waterbury. But yeah, you know, still. Okay, so I'm out of stamps here. I guess this is a pretty natural place to cut the video off. So I'm gonna end it there. I hope you guys enjoyed. If nothing else, I know this might not be like a relaxing video for you guys, but I still hope you enjoyed. And if you are listening, like, I at least hope it was somewhat engaging, because I do feel like some of this is at least interesting to think about. You know, a lot of my viewers, I don't know for sure because I haven't looked at the analytics, nor do I trust them for such like a small pool of viewers, but I'm assuming most of you guys are like in your early 20s like I am, or even older, since a lot of you are watching RuneScape, like 2007 RuneScape specifically. I'm gonna change out my book here. So, you know, this is stuff that if you weren't exposed to as a kid, maybe you're getting a little bit more exposure to as an adult. As a kid, I never got mugged. I was in some very uncomfortable situations in New Haven, as a kid. But because I was a kid, nothing really happened in those situations. You don't mug children because children don't have money on them. And you just be careful doing stuff around kids, because even though the police aren't going to come in and track you down if you're homeless in New Haven, right? New Haven has some pretty serious homelessness issues. Again, homelessness issues that do not compare to where I am now up north. Way worse in New Haven and in Connecticut. They will track you down if you fuck with some child in that area, especially in Connecticut. You know what I mean? Because Connecticut does definitely try to preserve like safe white haven, but that's not true. It's not what it is, and Connecticut is not even that white of a state. In fact, I'd go as far to say Connecticut is probably one of the least white states in the whole country. Could be wrong about that, but at the same time, there's so many urban hubs that have so much Hispanic and Black culture that I really don't believe it's white-centric. However, at the same time, you know, what is white-centric absolutely is the wealth in Connecticut. That's where the financial segregation comes from. But I'm just gonna kind of leave it at that, because this is a lot for one ramble. Like I said, this is more of a rant.